Did you see the South Park episode?
When the South Park episode mocking The Witcher Season 4 aired, nobody, and I mean nobody, reacted harder than Joe Rogan. The moment those clips started circulating online, showing an animated Liam Hemsworth stumbling through exaggerated slow-motion sword swings, and the writers being portrayed as clueless Hollywood executives throwing Sapkowski's books into a shredder, Joe couldn't stop laughing. It wasn't just a "that's funny" laugh. It was that deep, chest-shaking Joe Rogan laugh. The kind that makes him slap the table and lean back in his chair as if he just witnessed the greatest comedic masterpiece of the century. For Joe, this wasn't just a parody. It was a truth bomb wrapped in satire, a comedic demolition of everything that went wrong with Season 4, and the most accurate portrayal of the recast disaster he had ever seen.
Were you familiar with this, the Watcher before you, The Witcher?
The Witcher,
before
yeah.
you started?
I hadn't seen the TV show, and I hadn't read the book.
I'm the most annoying guy on set because I'm saying, excuse me, you do realize that this should be happening and they wouldn't do that, and you haven't read this, that means this would be impossible. And everyone's just going, Henry, just shut up and do the thing. And I'm like, I don't want to do the thing because he wouldn't do it this way, and he can do this.
Witcher was supposed to be 7 seasons, but it was abruptly cut down to 5 after Henry Cavill left, and Lauren Hissrich is lucky she got that. But she does say, are there more stories? Maybe. Well, actually, there's a lot because you skipped them, but this one has to end at this point. So I think it's a nice time for all of us to step back a little bit. And that probably has a lot to do with the audience stepping back a long time ago.
He stumbled across the episode when Jamie showed him the trending clip titled "South Park Destroys the Witcher Recast." From the second Joe saw the animated Liam lounging around looking lost, confused, and awkwardly trying to imitate Henry Cavill's Geralt grunts, Joe exploded into uncontrollable laughter. He pointed at the screen, wheezing between breaths, saying, dude, they didn't even hold back. They went right for him. They clobbered this guy. Joe replayed the clip at least 5 times, laughing even harder each time. For him, the humor didn't come from cruelty, it came from accuracy. South Park had simply said what everyone had been thinking for months. Joe paused the video during the scene where the animated Witcher writers proudly admit, "We've never opened the books, but we've opened TikTok," which is the same thing, right? Joe was dying. He shouted, "That is exactly what fans have been complaining about. That's the whole problem." His laughter turned into hysterics when another scene showed Liam doing a painfully awkward spin with a sword, tripping over his own boots, while the narrator said, "Behold, the new Geralt, crafted by corporate science." Joe leaned back, slapped his knee, and said, "Man, this is savage. They are roasting this guy like a marshmallow." But beneath the humor and beneath Joe's unfiltered laughter was a deeper commentary. Joe didn't just find the parody funny, he found it revealing. He kept pointing out that South Park doesn't waste time parodying irrelevant failures. They target cultural catastrophes that resonate. "You know it's bad," Joe said between laughs, "when South Park can put your entire season into a 20-second joke and the whole internet goes, yeah, that tracks. That's when you know something went wrong."
Promote this thing until a month before it came out. They knew that switching from like Henry Cavill to Liam Hemsworth, as downhill as the franchise has gone, everybody knew that even they knew it'd be shit. Were we expecting this? Witcher Season 4 is sitting at 17% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes right now. And I mean, look, the critics are pretty so-so on it as well. Some critics have been lambasting it, but overwhelmingly the fan base who has had an opportunity to watch it has wholeheartedly rejected this thing.
What's this? Oh, I saw this. Henry Cavill says he's not a fan of sex scenes in film and television and believes that they're mostly a bit of a cop-out. Fucking true. Absolutely true.
It's when you have a sense that you're going, is this really necessary? Or is it people just with less clothing on?
Right.
Yeah. And that's where you start to get more uncomfortable and you're thinking, there's not a performance here. TV show or a movie is just filled with sort of gyrating bodies and you're going, okay, but I mean, what is this doing for us, apart from the idea of like, oh, naked person, great.
Back
They
in
should have just canceled
2019, it was and there were more than a few outlets and
I don't know why Netflix would have even continued with it, because like it's only going to damage their brand and make them look bad. Like you probably should be paying money to not have it shown.
saying that's possible, actually releasing the show. And let's just
I don't know why they released it. They should have just canceled it. That's fine. But what I'm saying is that a lot of people obviously don't like this type of content.
Netflix's Q2 report came out, and apparently they lost 1 million subscribers in the second quarter of this year, which we already saw that at the beginning of the year, they lost 200,000. The next month, they lost another couple 100,000, and they had projected that they were going to lose a couple million over the next few months.
Joe then started talking about Henry Cavill, and this is where his mocking tone sharpened into admiration. Joe called Henry one of the last real actors who respects fans, comparing his passion for The Witcher to how die-hard martial artists treat their craft. Henry Cavill was the guy keeping this thing alive, Joe said. He wasn't just acting, he was protecting the damn lore. You don't fire a guy like that, you worship him, you let him tell you what to do. Joe shook his head laughing again, and then they recast with Liam Hemsworth. Dude, Liam's a nice guy and all, but come on, that's like replacing a seasoned UFC fighter with a guy who watched 2 karate movies. When the South Park clip showed a room of Netflix executives high-fiving after choosing Liam because he's cheaper and algorithms say he's youth-friendly, Joe's laugh turned into a full-throated howl. He said, "That's exactly how these studios think. They don't think about story, they think about math problems. They go, if we pick this guy, our demographic chart goes up 4%. Like, what?" Joe joked that the Witcher writers probably watched the South Park episode and said, "Wow, they really captured our creative process."
My job? Kill monsters. Get coin. Use coin on McDonald's app. Get points. Use points to get free McChicken. Only 1,500 points. Every dollar spent is 100 points. Constant BOGOs. I always leave with a free McChicken. It's like I'm stealing from them.
Stealing? You're a thief.
Lemon.
Now I have to.
I think that's just so unfair to the guy. Are we really going to blame everything and scapegoat this guy? Well, think about if the show was so great, why did the first guy leave? It's so unfair.
Millions of people are canceling their Netflix subscriptions. Why Netflix stock is absolutely tanking right now. I mean, it is just collapsing totally in the red. And you can see that it is on a massive downward slope this month. It's cratering.
And I guess bringing in a new White Wolf at this point in the season, a bold move and a tall order for Liam.
And of course, he wanted to honor the character that had already been set up because he knows that he's stepping into a role. But at the same time, he wanted to make sure that his performance was authentic, that it felt like him, that he wasn't playing and mimicking anything. And so
promote this thing until a month before it came out. You knew they knew that switching from like Henry Cavill to Liam Hemsworth, as downhill as the franchise has gone, everybody knew that even they knew it'd be shit. Were we expecting this? Witcher Season 4 is sitting at 17% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes right now.
I agree with the responsibility of that lays at the feet of one woman, the aforementioned Lauren Schmidt-Hissrich, who has finally gotten everything she wanted, complete control of an epic fantasy series on Netflix without the shackles of Henry Cavill. And how did it turn out? Well, about as bad as you would expect. It's time to talk about...
The deeper Joe watched, the funnier it got. The episode had a scene where animated Henry Cavill appeared in full Geralt armor, reading the books meticulously while mumbling, "Respect the lore." Meanwhile, animated Liam was shown painting his nails, saying, "Do I really have to arui grunt and nai kilarwi make that?" It hurts my throat. Joe nearly choked with laughter at that one. He paused the clip and said, "Bro, Henry Cavill was Geralt because he lived it. This isn't a role you can fake. You can't just show up, spray on some gray hair, and call yourself a Witcher. It doesn't work like that." Joe then dove into why the recast was doomed from the start. He explained that fans didn't reject Liam because he was Liam. They rejected the disrespect behind the decision. "You don't replace a guy like Henry Cavill," Joe said. "He was the glue. He was the backbone. He was the only reason this show worked." Joe continued laughing at the South Park jokes. But every joke reminded him of the core problem. Liam never had a chance. The writers didn't give him one, the fans didn't give him one, and South Park sure as hell wasn't giving him one.
And it was not even a year ago where Henry very publicly said that he is committed to doing the planned 7 seasons of the Netflix Witcher on one condition. That condition being that the writers can manage to tell great stories while honoring the source material this show is apparently meant to be based on. Now,
oh, okay. Well, that actually does fucking indicate something, doesn't it? Let's read this again. Absolutely, he says, and this is a quote, "As long as we can keep telling great stories which honor Sapkowski's work." So I wonder what the odds are that a Netflix series isn't going to honor the original content of which the series is built off.
Witcher, Witcher, Witcher! There's fish people drowning our sheep in the river!
Sounds like drowners. Gonna need spicy mayo.
Okay.
Oil my blade. Witcher magic for every occasion. Killing monsters is what I do.
Okay, can you hurry?
Witcher! A vampire ate my mom!
A Dracula. Needs garlic butter.
Oh, I can make whatever I want. I've got him on a farm milking people. I'm gonna send him to the ladies with the red bonnets on.
Because everyone can have their version. Everyone shouldn't. Everyone doesn't matter enough to have their version. What matters is the millions upon millions of people which have bought the games, and they deserve to be represented. Lauren doesn't. Lauren's irrelevant. I'm not sure why Lauren's the showrunner. She already scared off the best asset that the series has. Getting rid of Henry Cavill and keeping Lauren would be like losing a Wagyu steak and having it replaced with a carrot.
One clip showed animated Liam practicing lines in the mirror like, oh, wait, how does he sound again? Joe cracked up and said, they nailed it. They absolutely nailed it. That's exactly what everyone thought watching season 4. Like he was trying to imitate Cavill instead of playing Geralt. Then came the scene that made Joe laugh the hardest. Animated Liam running from animated monsters because he forgot the choreography. But then Joe got serious again, in that subtle way where he stays funny but hits you with truth. Look, man, he said, South Park didn't ruin Liam. Netflix did. The writers did. The people who ignored Henry Cavill did. Joe said it wasn't Liam's fault that he walked into a burning building. He didn't know the house was already on fire. He just showed up with a sword and said, hey guys, I'm ready. And the fandom was like, no, you're not. Joe explained that Henry Cavill didn't just walk away, he left because the writing team fought him, undercut him, ignored the books, and treated the source material like optional homework. You can't disrespect a story like that, Joe said. Fans know. They always know. He pointed to how South Park depicted the Witcher writers tossing books aside saying, hey, too complicated, and how hilariously accurate that felt. At one point, the South Park episode featured a fake Netflix trailer titled The Witcher, We Promise It's Good This Time, with a narrator saying, now with 80% fewer book scenes. Joe paused it, wiped his eyes from laughing, and said, dude, the writers have to be crying right now. South Park just did what fans have been doing for months, calling this season a glorified cosplay. Joe then switched back to Liam. This poor guy, Joe said mockingly. He got handed Geralt like it was a charity role. He was set up to fail so hard, South Park didn't even need to exaggerate. They just animated reality. Joe emphasized that Liam's biggest problem wasn't his acting. It was that he stepped into a role that already had a perfect actor. Henry Cavill wasn't replaceable, and the fact that Netflix thought otherwise became the punchline of 2024. Joe wrapped his reaction by saying the South Park episode might go down as the most accurate criticism of a fantasy show ever animated. He joked that even Henry Cavill probably watched it while sipping tea like, ah yes, balance has been restored. Joe said that if Netflix had listened to Henry Cavill from the start and respected the lore, none of this would have happened. But the final punchline came when Joe imagined Henry's reaction to the parody. In his best Henry impression, Joe said, well, they got it mostly right, and burst into laughter again. Dude, Henry is somewhere painting Warhammer figures, laughing quietly, knowing he dodged the biggest bullet of his career. To Joe Rogan, the South Park episode wasn't just funny, it was karmic. It was poetic justice. It was the universe saying, you cannot replace Henry Cavill. You can try, but South Park will be waiting. In the end, Joe said exactly what millions of fans were thinking. The Witcher didn't collapse because of South Park. South Park just told the truth, and Bayer and I away and made it hilarious.